Hello, everyone. Welcome to Peoria Adventist News. It is good to have you guys with us this Sabbath. Just want to begin with a few things that you should be knowing and understanding. And the first one is, how long is this church going to stay? Hey, guys, welcome back to another video in the COVID Chronicles. That's right, it's COVID. Don't get that wrong. Anyways, this is a series of videos designed to help you guys get ready for live streaming. Now, maybe you're already live streaming, you got something up and running. In our last video, we talked about how to use your phone and how to use your computer. And by the way, you can use them in any combination. You can actually hook a couple phones up to your computer as cameras and still stream from your computer. And you can have a multicam thing going that way. You can do it wirelessly even through OBS or software like that. But anyways, I digress. We're going to have more gear videos coming up to get into some of the more advanced stuff if you want to take your live streaming to the next level. But aside from gear, another series of topics that we want to cover is online church, how you should do it, what your online church should be about. And so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through our second online church, which happened last Sabbath, and we're going to dissect it. I'm going to dissect it. It's painful. I hate watching myself. I am like eminently critical of all of my little mistakes. So we're going to get through this. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to suffer through watching myself speak because I think it's really important to be able to see how this works, how we do it, and what we're trying to do, where we're trying to get to. Now, just so you know, the way we do online church is not the way you need to do online church. We can just all do it differently, okay? But I think explaining a little bit about why we go live, what we're attempting to accomplish here, maybe can give you some ideas. And I would love for you to share some of your ideas with us. You can leave links to your online church in the description. You can't leave them in the description, can you? Leave a link to your online church, to your stream, in the comment section below, and along with maybe some ideas that you guys have. Again, the whole point of showing you this is not to say this is how everybody needs to be doing it, but just to show you one way to do it, and you can take notes or just disregard all of it. Now, you should know that the difference between our Sabbath stream from our first week and our second week is actually really big. Quality-wise and otherwise, we're learning every single week. So what you see here is it's not our end product. It's not what we're trying to get to. Every week we are integrating things and learning, and we're going to talk about some of the things we're going to do for week 3 and week 4 as we get into this video a little bit. And you're going to see them if you watch on Sabbath from 10 till 12 Central Time. You're going to see us change week by week by week by week. Let's go in the studio and take a look at week number 2. Okay, so the first thing we have here is our slideshow. This is what we do because if you say you're going to start at 10 a.m. like we do, people are not going to show up at 10 a.m., okay? This is not like regular church. People are going to roll on whenever they can. They may be at 10:01, 10:05, 10:15. So what we do is we start our live service about 20 minutes in advance, and it just runs through these slides right here. And this works for us because it gives people a chance to get on. Plus, it's showing them some announcements, some things we want them to know. So our first slide, it says that church is online. It crosses out the word closed here, as you see, because we want people to know we're not suffering from something, right? Seeing church is closed on a sign is just kind of depressing. And we want people to see, no, it's not closed, it's online. Like we've just moved to a different place. And we also have some Bible trivia that just goes automatically. People can actually join that on their phone. We don't really take full advantage of that, but we just put it up here if they want to sit here and do a couple questions every time this announcement deck goes all the way around, and they can kind of test themselves. It gives us something to do instead of just seeing the same pictures over and over and over again. We give them our schedule here, which we try to follow, but we're not too worried about it. And so this basically is a kind of real quick briefing of what's going on, what to expect from the live stream. It gives them a chance to get on. They can see the weather, the time, the date, all that sort of stuff. All right, this should be ending soon. We're waiting for it to end. We got our cooler music popping up now. And so basically at this time, we're all trying to get ready. We're kind of scrambling around, making sure everyone's in their place. We've got a producer. We've deputized them as a producer. Okay, that position sounds like really good, but we're just a church of like, I don't know, 80 people regularly. So here we go. here I am waiting to be told when I'm live. We got to work on that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Peoria
All right.
Adventist News. It is good to have you guys with us.
So we're calling this Peoria Adventist News because we want to begin with a kind of, usually it's announcement time in many churches. And so we want to begin by talking about some of the things that they should know and what's going on. How long is church going to be closed? We can't just go through a worship service and leave these questions unaddressed. And so that's the whole purpose of this segment, is we want to kind of get people up to speed. Now, eventually we want to have members send in Happy Sabbath videos like, hey, it's the Smiths, Happy Sabbath, glad to see you, hope everyone's doing well. Kind of like soldiers do during, we want our members to be able to see our members. And so this is like a segment where we would be doing that sort of thing. And so I talk for a few minutes, reminding people to wash their hands and share the Bible verse with them to encourage them and this sort of thing. We do this in our welcome center, and that table usually just has a bunch of food on it on Sabbath morning, and it's become our anchor desk. So that's what this segment's all about. And we're going to send it over to Ben, who is going to be teaching our Sabbath School. And again, we got to work on these transitions because I don't know when I'm off the air. And Ben, you see here, is just kind of staring at the camera, like kind of waiting to know when to begin. There we go. So we've got to work on those transitions from one camera to the other. But so he's in a sanctuary, I was in a welcome center. We're just gonna have to improve on this. So Ben is going to do a traditional Sabbath school thing, and he's going to take your questions when you write them on Facebook. And so this we want people to continue studying their lesson. Ben had a really hard task. He had to teach on Daniel 11 with no audience, and that's a super hard thing to do because you don't know if people are getting it. You don't know if it's way over their heads, and it's just kind of a waste of time for them. That was a really big thing to ask him to teach that, and he did a fantastic job, so we're happy about that. Now we're going to transition from Ben, and we're going to go to a camera in the studio. It's actually my phone, my iPhone 11, and when we get there, we're going to find one of our other members, Heather, and Heather is going to be reading Scripture. You're going to tell through all of this that not all of our shots are equal in quality. I mean, Ben here looks rather pale. It's the sanctuary. It's not really a well-lit place. It's not designed for somebody to stand on the floor. The lights don't aim there. So you just got to deal with what we got. And so Heather here has her scripture reading, and she really enjoys this. She's a natural at this, and we're happy that she could be a part of this. So what we do as a church when it comes to scripture reading is we don't do a few verses that relate to the sermon. We read through books together. So we've done 1 John, and now we're in 1 Corinthians. We did Philippians as well. Now we're in 1 Corinthians, and so we just take like a pericope at a time, and we just read through it. And so sometimes it's wonderful and uplifting. Other times it's like, there's incest in the church, and you're like, okay. But it's important. The discipline is important to be able to read through an entire book together. So maybe after a few years, you can be like, we read through half the New Testament or something. And that's a pretty cool thing to be able to say as a church. It was publicly read in our hearing, these large sections of Scripture. When Heather's done reading her Scripture reading, we go back to the sanctuary where Jacob is, and where my wife and I are running behind him while he's live because we had no idea. We were getting ready for children's story, which is going to take place right next to him. Jacob's job is to ask for money. We're going to do this better in the future. We want to just create a pre-recorded video that we can throw in here that will kind of just suffice week after week after week to explain online giving. We can show the web page. We can show somebody typing through and giving, and they know how it works. And so that's what we want to do in the future. But Jacob is doing a good job here, talking about how they can give online. This is one of the most critical things that we're trying to work on. How do you give online? We've asked our treasurer, find out who normally gives and maybe who has stopped giving since we have gone to online church, because those people have shown a willingness to give, but they just maybe don't know how. And so we need to kind of tactfully reach out to those people and say, do you need help setting this up? No judgment either way, just wanted to offer our help. And so that's how we're planning on doing online giving here going forward. All right, again, we got to work on these transitions from Jacob. Oh, he started moving. And we went to the wrong camera. It happens, guys. We're live. We went to the prayer camera instead of the children's story camera where my wife is right now. There she is. And my 2 kids. So we're not bringing other people's kids and exposing them. These are just my kids and just with my wife. And they kind of keep away from everybody else. So this is her corner. This is usually where we do children's stories. So it's going to be very familiar to people. And so she's been reading books lately, and it's been working out really, really well. We're probably going to move toward pre-recording our children's stories and just airing them later. We'll just do it at home. Just obviously because of safety, we want to do a few less things here at church, especially dragging my kids. So she does a very, very, very great job. She was very intentional about welcoming the kids at home, about reassuring them if they were a little bit afraid, she acknowledged that they missed their friends at church. They missed coming to church. And so she acknowledged those emotions that they were feeling. And I think that's really a key ingredient if you're going to do children's programming live or just pre-recorded, I guess. If you're going to do it online, do your best to feel what the kids are feeling and acknowledge that. And so she did a fantastic job of that. Yeah, this is a cringeworthy moment right here. Watch my little girl, Arwen. She got her hands up, wants mommy. Mommy's teaching. She sees big sister. I don't know exactly what she's thinking here, but she's like leaning on big sister. And then, boom, she fell off the pew. Ouch. Ouch. And so her screams were legendary. Yeah. We had to pause for a moment. This is what happens when you guys do live programming. I mean, stuff's going to happen. Don't sweat it. Okay? The Lord is not wanting us to orchestrate this kind of, we're not doing synchronized swimming here, all right? We do our best, and like life happens, life happens. Things are going to happen. Cameras are going to fall over. You're going to forget something. It's okay. The point isn't a production. The point is we're still going to worship, right? We're still a community of faith, expressing our thankfulness and our fears and all of this to our God. And it's okay if things don't go perfectly. It can be a little bit frustrating because you don't see the people you're trying to connect with. And it can feel like this is all just some cold production that we're working on, but it's not. You got to have a heart ready to worship, or none of this is going to make a lick of difference. Okay. Then we showed a video from our conference president because we think it's important to integrate our conference leaders and the materials that they're putting out. So we want our members to know that a conference is aware of this. They exist. They're doing things, right? Because sometimes it can feel like when you're in pain or you have fear, it can feel like we're alone. It's just us versus the world. You may not be aware of what's going on around you. And so we want to show them faces and places outside of our church to let them know we're all in this together. You have leadership in your area that is interested and invested, and they're trying to make this as great as possible, despite the circumstances. They're working with us. And so for the last 2 weeks here, we've had a nice video to show. And this one is of our conference president, Ron Aguilera. Okay, finally, back to the prayer camera, where Heather has moved from the studio to the Welcome Center, just different part of the Welcome Center than I was in. And she's writing down prayer requests that we're getting over Facebook. Now, the key with doing prayer requests over Facebook is to ask for them as early in the broadcast as you possibly can, because it takes people some time to think, to type, and to send them in. There's usually a little bit of a delay between what you're saying and by the time people get it, usually a few seconds. We use a Sling Studio, which we're going to talk about more next week, has a little bit more of a delay. So if you are the person standing up there asking for prayer requests, it's going to be, maybe 15 seconds before anybody writes back. And that can be a really awkward time. So I tell them, number one, make sure you have a few prayer requests or praises of your own. So you can say, all right, guys, we're going to open time up for prayer requests right now or praises. Let's start with this one. We got to pray for sister so-and-so. We got to make sure that she has what she needs, da-da-da-da-da-da, and my cousin so-and-so. And I just want to thank the Lord for this, right? You start with that, and you're giving people time to send in their own prayer requests. All right, and they can send them in at any time during this worship. So it might be helpful just to kind of scroll up with your phone. We want her to have a phone. She has one there in her hand, as you can see it, so she can see them as they come in, and she can scroll up. So if we invited them when I was doing the news desk thing early on, so if they sent prayer requests in that early, then we can just scroll up and get those first ones that came in, and then we have something to go off of. So you really don't want to make prayer time too long. It's not the same when you're not there, and you feel a little bit more detached from the person who's praying. So you just want to gather people's prayer requests in as efficiently as possible. You want to pray, not a long prayer, but just a heartfelt, simple, short prayer, and then you want to move on to the next segment. Why do we write them on the board? We had that question when we did the NAD webinar. Why do we write them on the board? Because there's something about writing something down that shows people you're serious, that shows people you're intentional. If you just told me, hey, pray for Sister Smith, she's got cancer, I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Gotta go, or okay, and I walk away or something like that. You're like, well, I told him. Did he really remember that? But if you say, pray for Sister Smith, and I don't have a pen around me, and I go get a pen and say, okay, hold on, right? And I write it down. I could put it in my phone. That's fine. You can put it in your phone. But if somebody takes the time in this technological age to grab a marker, to grab a pen, and write something down, it's showing that you're being intentional. Plus, it's all on the board so everybody can see the prayer requests and praises together. And if they want to write them down wherever they are to remember them and pray for them, that's fine too. So we want to show intentionality. We want to show that we take their concerns seriously, and we want to make it easy for other people to pray for these people as well. All right, from the prayer time, we just go right into the sermon or whatever you want to call it, because we have basically a sort of a panel discussion. It's not really that formal. I prepared a number of things to talk about, just a couple verses and some thoughts, and I thought I was going to be alone this Sabbath, but then Jacob said, they don't need me where I was going to be this Sabbath, so I can come over. And I was like, well, just come sit on stage and we'll discuss some things I told him what it was going to be about. And then, of course, Ben had done Sabbath School, and Ben is a great thinker, great conversationalist. So I was like, well, Ben, you might as well come up too. And so it ended up going from, I thought I was going to talk to a camera for 20 minutes to, there's 3 of us up here and we can have a discussion, and it can go anywhere. We've gotten some feedback. Some people really like it. Some people are like, we'd rather have a very focused message, and I get that. So, we can just move it around. One week it can be a very focused message from one person. Another time it could be 2 shorter messages from 2 different people. Another time it could be something like this where you see 3 people on the screen, or 4, or whatever, right? Just what I would say is make sure you model what you're preaching. So if you're telling people to maintain social distance and they see you on the platform all sitting next to each other, you're kind of saying the rules don't apply to me. You're saying I'm telling you what to do, but I'm not going to do it myself. And so it looks like we're really close here, but we're not super close. I'm probably about 5 feet away from Ben, so we could do better there. And I'm more than 6 feet, I think, away from Jacob there on the right with the glasses. So just make sure you practice what you preach. Now, this format is really nice, having 3 people, because it just kind of relieves you of the responsibility of one person doing a sermon to a camera. We actually have several cameras set up. One of the beautiful things about the Sling system is that you can move cameras around all the time. So we had one of my phones. It connects wirelessly. One of my phones. I only have one phone. I mean, what are we talking about here? It connects wirelessly to the system, and so I can just move it around on a tripod wherever we want it to be. So we're done with the prayer time and the welcome center. So we just moved the phone into the sanctuary, I think, and I don't know if we moved the other camera or not, but we had 2 cameras in there. So now we can move them both in here, because this is our last segment, bring all the cameras in. And so that enables the director to have the most amount of angles. This is something you can't do when we have live church, because you've got people sitting there. You just can't put a bunch of cameras in front of them. You got to be more strategic. So that's just one of the advantages of doing online church, is it enables you to kind of get shots that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get. So anyways, we just decided we'd just go until 12. We're very flexible with sermon time. We tell people that we're going to occupy 10 to 12, those hours of their day. And if things go long or something, and it's like 10:40, 12:40, 11:45 when we get up there to finally speak, then we just go 15 minutes or something. If it's 11:20 when we get up there, things went real quick for some reason, then we just fill up the time. So it's really an easy, effortless thing to do. I would say don't over prepare for your online church. You should prepare. Like, we had it down to the minute. We have a list, a run list or whatever of how everything's going to go, what gear we need, who's going to be where, and that sort of thing. Prepare super hard for this. But then when it happens, don't be obsessed with getting it perfectly right, okay? It's okay. You're just going to go with the flow. When you're live, things just happen, right? Your daughter falls off a pew. She's okay, by the way. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if somebody's just going to not show up, or, they're going to teach Sabbath School for 20 minutes and realize they're out of material because they just blew through it and no one was asking questions. Hey, it happens. Again, we're here to worship the Lord. So prepare really, really well, but then don't sweat it when things start going, because they'll go off the rails a little bit. So this is how we do online church. It's very simple. It resembles our live church pretty well, except without the music. We're going to work on that. And there's a few other things we're going to work on as well. We want to have a social media manager or minister for when the church is online. We want somebody to welcome. So somebody comes in, they start watching, welcome Janet Smith to the live stream. Good to see you here. Happy Sabbath. And then they're able to facilitate discussion. So during Sabbath School, they can type something like, great point. That brings up this question, right? They can lead. It's kind of like when you do an altar call or something like that. Sometimes that one person you wait forever for one person, then one person comes up front, and then like 10 more people follow. You're waiting for someone to break the ice. And I think with people who are a little bit nervous about interacting on social media, it's not their forte. You're waiting for that one person to ask the question, that one person to give a prayer request. And so we want to have somebody dedicated towards doing that and encourage everybody to have that kind of person. They can be at home. They don't have to be wherever it is that you're filming. They can just be watching the live stream and welcoming people and starting conversations and encouraging other people to start conversations. And I think that can make a world of difference. And then if you're preaching, you can say, if anybody wants to be baptized or give their lives to Jesus, so-and-so is our social media minister today. Just go ahead and send them a DM, send them a message, and, I'll make sure I follow up with you or something like that. All right, so that's our online church. You don't have to do it just like we do it. You can do it however you want to do it, right? It's all up to you. There's no one way to do this. And that's kind of the beautiful part of this chaotic period, is that our creativity matters a ton right now. You don't have to model your online church after your live church. You can do it however you want to do it. But we like doing it live because it gives us a feeling of this thing is fresh, it's imperfect. So it's like live church, right? In that sense. And we can get feedback from our members. This is something we want to continue to encourage and to work on with that online social media minister role that we want to foster. And hopefully that will help out. We're going to be working on simulcasting in the future. All of those things. We're in this together. We want to learn from you as well. So please leave us a link below of some of the things that you do and that you've learned and that you love about online church right now. Share a link to your own live stream, your Sabbath stream. And so other people who watch this video can get ideas from you as well. Again, thank you guys so much. And remember, more than ever, the best is yet to come.